Hey everybody, welcome back to the Balanced Vibes podcast. I am your host, Kirsten. I hope your week was great or is great. It depends on when you are watching or listening. Right now, it is Friday evening, and I am recording a couple of new episodes for the podcast. My week was great. We had a week in our Fit and Fuel Facebook group that was dedicated to hormonal health. So if you didn't hear the previous episodes yet, where I talked about it, basically, what we did was that we took a whole week and talked about different topics about hormones and how our hormones behave in perimenopause and menopause, and why we shouldn't just throw in the towel and say, game over, I can't do anything about my body composition or health or fitness anymore because my hormones are doing whatever the heck they want. So I hope that if you listen to these videos, if you listened to these daily lives, that you really feel better now and know that there's a lot that you can do if you want to maintain good health and healthy body composition as well. If you're not in a group and if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you can still head over to the group and simply go find the featured tab at the top of the page, and all the live videos are there, so you can always watch them. And I have, in most cases, also created a PDF file kind of to accompany this video. So if there's any topic that you want to read more about, then reach out and I will send you the PDF as well. So had a really good week, quite a bit of engagement in the Facebook group, people talking, asking questions. So I had a really good time answering them and hopefully helping people out. Today, what we're going to talk about is the difference between weight loss and fat loss, and why is it so important to understand that they are not the same thing. Now, of course, most people talk about, I need to lose weight. It's such a common thing, right? I think you know probably at least 5 people right now who would easily say that, I need to lose weight, I need to lose weight. But what people don't often understand that what they really, really want is fat loss. And these two things can be very similar, obviously, but also there are some very important differences that are super important to understand and keep in mind when you get started on this journey of losing weight or losing body fat. So now I'm going to cover this topic today, and I'm focusing on 3 M's. So I'm going to talk about 3 M's that are involved in this process of weight loss, fat loss. And the 3 M's are the method, then the message, and finally the metabolism. So the method will be, of course, how are we getting this result? Weight loss, fat loss. Then the message is going to be what kind of message does this method send to our bodies? And then metabolism is going to be how your metabolism is going to respond to your method and the message that you are sending to your body. So let's get started with talking about weight loss first. And then second, after that, we're going to talk about fat loss. So let's say that you have this typical woman right now who says that I need to lose weight, desperately need to lose weight, right? Everything is about the number on the scale. I have to get the weight down. Now, when this person goes into this fitness or health journey with a mindset of like desperation and having to absolutely lose weight no matter what, then the method that she's going to use is probably not going to be the best method. So, for example, what are we typically doing? And by the way, I did also in my early 20s, is that we're going to go for lots of cardio, right? So we think that this is the number thing that we have to focus on. And even doctors, this is the first advice they give you. Go do more cardio, start running. But a lot of times people, they don't like running. Maybe they have a lot of weight issues. It's just freaking uncomfortable. And it is also definitely not the best tool if you want to get some weight down. However, we run to cardio, literally run to cardio, because we know that this burns a lot of calories, therefore must burn a lot of energy. I mean, the same thing, calories, energy, and therefore must help us to lose weight fast. Now, the other thought process, of course, when it comes to food is that I have to cut my calories really low. So I'm still talking about the method. So method is doing lots of cardio, and the other part of the method is cutting your calories really, really low. Again, same thing, exactly what I did in my early 20s as well. So cut the calories down a lot. So I personally didn't know back then what my calories were like because I followed Weight Watchers, but looking back, couldn't be more than maybe, I don't know, 1400 or something ridiculous, right? And when we cut the calories down so much, of course, we create a huge deficit, and the weight probably starts going down quite fast. Now, what's also very common these days, I didn't do this, But these days, it's also very common to cut down or cut out carbohydrates because we believe that carbohydrates are the devil. They are the thing to blame because we have all this weight on. And if I could only drop all the carbohydrates, that weight will just go down. And yeah, sure enough, it can go down because carbohydrates always come with some water. So when you stop eating carbohydrates, you see weight loss relatively quickly because you are letting go of some water. But this is not the fat loss that you want, right? This is not the same thing. So let's say that the method here, if you are very weight loss focused, is to do cardio, to cut the calories super low, and then to cut your carbohydrates also. Not everybody cuts the carbohydrates, but a lot of people do. Now, what is the message then that we are sending by choosing this method of tons of cardio and very little carbs and calories? The message that we are sending to our bodies is that we don't need muscle, right? You can let go of it because what do we need for muscle? We need sufficient fuel. This is energy, this is calories, this is protein, and we need strength building, right? Because that's what keeps the muscle on the body. Now, when we don't do these things, when we take away the calories, cut them super low, when we do tons of cardio, this is a clear message to our bodies that we do not need that muscle. Let go of it. And therefore, we start losing muscle as well. So are we getting the weight loss result? Absolutely, we're getting the weight loss results, but is this the result that we wanted? Because you should always try to keep as much muscle on your body as possible. If you want to lose something, you probably want to lose body fat. But yes, now the message is, we don't need the muscle. Body, let's get really good at saving calories because we're getting so little. We're maybe getting 1,200, 1,400, even 1,600 is low. We're getting so little, so we better hold on to that little bit that we have been giving. So we're just going to store that. And this is why at first you may see weight loss. Also, when you cut your carbs, I talked about the water weight again, or before you cut the calories, you do cardio. Then at first, yes, you see weight loss. As you know, if you've been listening for my podcast, you know that it's not gonna last forever. The body starts fighting back at some point, but at first it will work. So yeah, you will lose your weight. So now we have our method, which is cardio and cutting calories and cutting carbs. Now we've talked about the message, what it's gonna tell to your body. Get rid of muscle. We don't need that. And finally, let's talk about the metabolism. What does your metabolism then decides to do when it receives this method? What your metabolism is going to do is it's going to change your hormone profile, obviously. And what is going to increase is your cortisol. So cortisol is a stress hormone, not a bad guy. Let's get rid of this idea that it's a bad thing. We should never have any cortisol. It's kind of like saying that we should never have insulin, right? It's like the keto world. But the metabolism gets a signal that we have to increase cortisol because we are under chronic stress. Where does that chronic stress come from? The chronic stress comes from chronic cardio, chronic undereating, and cutting the carbohydrates low. Yes, the last one is also a source of chronic stress. And if we also throw in some fasting, 16 plus hours, this adds more to that stress bucket, right? So your metabolism senses that you are under constant stress and you probably need more cortisol. Here you go. Here's more cortisol for you. Okay. And what happens when the cortisol is high is that our fat burning ability gets low. We're not able to burn as much. And our muscle building ability also goes down because cortisol is known as catabolic hormone, catabolic meaning breaking down. So it really encourages muscle breakdown. Also, what happens on a hormonal level, on your metabolism level, is that your sex hormones will be lower. Absolutely my case. That's why I didn't have periods for so many years because my sex hormones were so low. Here's how it works. If your body is under constant chronic stress, it has no interest in making enough sex hormones, right? Why would it? Because these things are not a priority. Your fertility is not a priority. Your libido is not a priority. None of this is important to your body. And also, if you don't even care about your periods or don't even care about your libido, I don't know why would you not care about that, but if you don't care about that, then think about it this way. If your estrogen is really tanking, then you don't also have muscle building ability because estrogen is anabolic hormone. It helps you to build muscle. If your progesterone is really low, that's going to encourage that puffiness and water retention and weight gain. So if your sex hormones are out of whack, so to speak, because you have been living this lifestyle of low calorie, low carb, and lots of cardio training, then this is what your metabolism senses. So it's going to turn up the cortisol, sex hormones are going to go down. You're not going to put on muscle, and you actually lose muscle, right? You lose muscle, you probably also lose a little bit of fat, at least at first, and you do get that weight down. But at what cost? So I just told you what happens on a metabolism level and with your hormones. Is this what you really want? So if you do this, you're absolutely going to lose some weight. You're probably going to lose some fat, and you're definitely going to lose a lot of muscle. And this is how a lot of people find that, oh my God, I lost all this weight that I wanted, but I don't look all that different. So I'm just like a smaller version of what I was previously. I still don't have that muscle tone. I still don't have that fit and toned look that I was going for. Where is it? And the problem is that you just chose the wrong approach when you focused only on the number in the scale because you chose the wrong method. Now, we covered the purely weight loss side of things. Now let's talk about fat loss, which is slightly different, right? Okay, so with fat loss, we are hoping to lose body fat, but not lose muscle mass. So this is the big difference. So I want you to understand that you actually don't want to lose just weight. Throw the scale out if you can't do it otherwise. What you want to lose is body fat, right? So now let's talk about the method. Once you realize that your goal is to lose body fat, not just weight, which includes muscle, you don't want to lose muscle, right? Once you realize that, you're going to choose a better method. And the better method is doing resistance training, not doing so much cardio. Resistance training with heavy weights, relatively heavy for you, right? I can't tell you what's exactly right for you. You have to figure this out. It has to feel heavy for you. And lift weights, let's say 2 to 4 days a week, right? And really focusing on building muscle. Now, we also have to support that with enough calories. So enough calories so that you are not starving and sending your body this constant high cortisol signal, right? So when we're eating enough calories, then we're feeding that muscle. And that gives the body the reason to keep the muscle on and even grow that muscle. Otherwise, without enough calories, what is this muscle going to be made of, right? It's kind of like you start, I don't know, kitchen remodeling and you have no tools, you have nothing. How do you do that? How do you fix your kitchen, right? If you have no tools, you only have an idea, right? So you can't do it this way. So you have to eat enough calories. And I realized that, of course, sometimes, a lot of times calorie deficit is important, but the difference between the previous method, which is like, let's just cut down to 1,000 calories. Now we're going to reduce just a little bit. Right, so we're going to reduce just a little bit, and you still have enough, and so that your protein is also high. So now this is the main building block for your muscles. So now you're lifting weights. Maybe you do a mild cut, or you eat at maintenance. I actually see that a lot of times too, that we just continue to eat at maintenance, but we're going to move around the macros so that now you're eating a high protein diet and you lift weights and you're going to put on more muscle, or at least maintain the muscle that you had if you're actually in deficit. So this was the method, and this method was so different from the weight loss focused method. Now, let's talk about what is the message that the body is going to get when we use this method. Well, the body is going to get the message that we better maintain and gain some muscle, because look at us, we are being fed and we have been stimulated with muscle building exercises. So looks like this is a kind of an important thing here. So let's keep that muscle on, right? We're not going to waste it away. We're not going to throw it out. We want to keep that on. And this will eventually be the thing that gives you the shape that you wanted to have. Now, we talked about the method, we talked about the message. Now, finally, let's talk about metabolism. What does your metabolism do when you take this approach, right? So your hormones will be way much better balanced, right? Your cortisol will be much normal. Now, obviously, it's not just the diet and just the exercise, extreme diet and extreme exercise that will throw your cortisol off. Of course, if you also don't sleep and you eat crap food, and if you're stressed out all the time and you never get any sun and you're sad and, there's stuff going on, these things also impact your cortisol. But if your diet is better, if you're not dramatically cutting your carbohydrates, and if you're not stressing your body out with so much cardio, there's a very good chance that your cortisol levels are now much healthier. When your cortisol levels are more normal, so will be your sex hormones. They will be more normal too, because now you have a healthier balance between your estrogen and progesterone. So why do you need a good balance of estrogen and progesterone? I briefly mentioned it before too. What is each of their roles? But to say it again, estrogen, if you have a good normal level of estrogen, that will actually help you to put on more muscle, and that will also help you to recover faster. And finally, it also has anti-inflammatory properties. So when you have good normal levels of estrogen, you're not as inflamed all the time. Now, talking about progesterone, I said that earlier, when we're under a lot of stress, then we have a lot of water retention. We have this kind of puffy feeling. So when progesterone is in check, then these problems are way less likely. And also, if you get periods, you're that age where you're getting regular periods, then also your cycles will be much more normal. So low progesterone is definitely something that impacts your cycle. And if it is not in the right place, you're going to have problems. Your cycles are going to be very irregular. Your luteal phase is not going to be as long as it should be. It's going to be maybe like 6, 7, 8 days. It should be 14 or so, give or take. So it's important to have that healthy balance between your sex hormones as well. And when you follow this method, when you focus on fat loss instead of just weight loss, then you should see really that you start getting the results that you want. Also, visually, you're going to start seeing things the way you like. You're going to get the results that you desire, because fat loss means if you have enough muscle built before, and now you're going to start losing fat, and of course you keep up resistance training as well, then you're going to get the shape that you wanted, right? And so you no longer will have this problem where you look like what's called the skinny fat, right? Just a little bit smaller, but my shape is exactly the same. So make sure that you understand the difference between the two. And if you want to change your body composition and the only thing is to lose weight, then I want you to rethink this and understand that fat loss is more important here than the weight loss is. And of course, when you're losing fat, then of course you may lose something on the scale too, obviously, right? Especially if you're a larger person, you have quite a bit to lose. Yes, because your fat percentage will go down, but it may not go down as much as you thought, because if you now have built that muscle also, then your ideal weight, or what you thought will be ideal weight, might actually be quite a bit higher. And so me personally too, like I don't care about my weight, in the sense that I weigh the same that I did when I very first started my weight loss journey, which was like at the age of 21. And back then I was definitely much softer. I didn't have that muscle mass that I have right now. And then when I lost all that weight, I just looked like a stick figure basically, but I didn't have, none of that muscle tone that I have now. And yeah, I was maybe like 35 pounds or so lighter at the end of my first weight loss journey. And I was like, oh my God, I'm really skinny. So I have no desire to have that super skinny look anymore. It's so much better and so much healthier. It's so much healthier, you guys, and you have the physical strength and your hormones are balanced and all that. So it's definitely worth it. If you have body composition goal, focus on fat loss and choose the method right. Lift the weights, eat a high protein diet. And if you need to have a mild calorie deficit, or even eat that maintenance at first, and see if this can start a change for you. Don't only look at the number on the scale. All right, this is all I got for you today. I hope you found this episode helpful, and make sure that you join our Fit and Fueled Facebook group. I would like to see you there. Thank you so much, and see you again very soon. Bye-bye.